Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Spellbook, your guide to the Commander format. Today, we're going to look at my zombie typal deck, helmed by the Commander, Varina, the Lich Queen. For this, we're going to take a closer look at our Commander, then we'll take a look at the deck I use, including ramp, removal, and what some of the strongest cards in the deck are. Without further ado, let's get into it. Our Commander is Varina, a 4/4 legendary zombie wizard that costs 1 colorless mana, 1 white, 1 blue, and 1 black. Her first effect says that whenever you attack with one or more zombies, you draw that many cards, discard that many cards, and gain that much life. Her second effect says you can pay 2 colorless mana and exile 2 cards from your graveyard. Create a tapped 2/2 black zombie token. While the second effect would be good in a pinch, her first effect is what really makes her special. There's a lot of flexibility once you get her out, plus it can allow you to get some prime reanimation targets into the grave, while getting access to your other spells and giving yourself more life. But to even get to that cool stuff, let's look at what can get us there. The Dex Ramp package. We're running a little bit skimp on our ramp in this deck. Our usual sources for mana in this deck are Arcane Signet, Commander Sphere, and of course the Commander staple, Soul Ring. However, there is an enchantment that not only makes a deck pop off as soon as it hits the board, but under the right circumstances can just outright lead to you winning the game. That enchantment is Rooftop Storm. It says you may pay 0 mana rather than pay the mana cost for zombie spells that you cast. This means you can cast every single zombie spell in your deck for free, which not only saves mana for any counter spells and interaction you might have in your hand, but it also can interact with other spells that let you cast from the graveyard. So let's say Kisa and Geralf, where you can pay mana to cast, you know, one zombie card in the graveyard. Instead of having to pay the mana now, you just do it for free, giving you even more flexibility for what you'd be able to, summon. This is legitimately one of the best cards in the deck, and if you can get it off, you can essentially win the game right there. Our removal for this one is a mixture of instant sorceries and creatures. Ravenous Rotbelly forces our opponents to sacrifice their creatures depending on how many zombies we sacrifice. Phyrexian Rebirth is a board wipe that also gives us a free creature, if it goes off, of course. And Nevinral, Urborg Tyrant, is a creature, a token generator, and a board wipe rolled into one. Granted, he's expensive mana wise, but he can still be useful in niche situations. Plus, if you have Rooftop Storm on the field, then like the mana cost part becomes irrelevant. Another sacrifice spell that can really mess with our opponents is Necrotic Hex, which makes everyone sacrifice 6 creatures, and we gain a 2/2 black zombie creature token for each creature that died. This by itself can swing a game into your favor, especially if the deck is working as intended and you have excess tokens. Our 3 strongest cards in this deck are the aforementioned Rooftop Storm, Necroduality, and Machias the Unhallowed. We've already discussed Rooftop Storm in our ramp section. Necroduality, however, is an insane card by itself. Its effect allows us to copy any zombie creature that hits our side of the board. This is, again, insane, especially with cards like Tainted Adversary and Ravenous Rotbelly that we mentioned before. Plus, this means more creature fodder for our sacrifice effects and, block our creatures so we don't die. On top of this, Machias the Unhallowed can make these cards even more busted. He is a 5/5 legendary zombie cleric with Intimidate, meaning he can only be blocked by creatures that share a color with him. His second effect says whenever a human deals damage to you, destroy it. And his final effect says that other non human creatures you control get +1/+1 and Undying. His presence on the board alone gives us a nigh unblockable creature that protects from one of the most common creature types in the entire game, and essentially gives nearly every creature in our deck a second life, including tokens, because tokens technically still hit the graveyard. This card by itself is one of the strongest mono black creatures in the game, but in this deck, he makes the deck itself an unkillable monster. Together, all cards work together with the rest of the deck to assemble an army of zombies large enough to either punch everyone to death or stall the game long enough to cast Zombie Apocalypse or Rise of the Dark Realms. These cards both able to pull all creature cards from graveyards and essentially let you just hit people with them. So it's still beating them to death, but with their own stuff, which is always nice. Stat wise, this deck has an average mana cost of 4.06, meaning we need at least 4 mana sources to play most of the cards in the deck. Zombie creatures, like our vampire deck, take about a third of our deck. In terms of the cost, the deck's entire value is $109.87, most of which is from Necro Duality, Machaos the Unhallowed, Rise of the Dark Realms, and Reanimate, the last two of which have gotten pretty recent reprints. This deck is surprisingly aggressive, especially for the colors used. Getting Varina on the board and swinging as simple a game plan can be for getting creatures into the graveyard, and once you get along, it's really hard to stop. On top of this, Esper as a color combo has the best interaction in the game, because you have blue's counter spells, black's spot removal, and white's board wipes. However, if someone
Which does
stop
make
you, it's gonna take a while before you can regain ground. The deck also heavily telegraphs itself, so more savvy players can just wait for you to fill up your graveyard and exile it. And if that happens, then the deck is essentially dead in the water. If you love playing the bad guy, playing aggressively, and summoning things from the dead, then this deck is for you. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you want to see more of the deck, click the Architect link in the description below. If you haven't already, remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell notification to be notified for our next video. Next up, do you like cool weapons? Do you like armor? Do you like free things? Then tune in next time where we look at Nahiri, Forged in Fury. See you next time.